Arrivederci, I think that's actually goodbye, crap. I don't know what the Italian is for hello, but whatever it is, we are here for the Festa Italiano. I've been told that my Italian needs work, as does every other accent in my non-existent repertoire. But yeah, the Festa Italiano is here. The real deal, not the little exhibition race that happened Monday morning. The actual road racing championship, 4-round cup. Smaller than the average bi-monthly championship that normally takes place in the Challenge Series, i.e. the Special Conditions Cup happening 2 weeks from now. However, obviously this was not a thing that was on the calendar at the start of the year. This was a thing that was established basically 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, obviously, let's build up for a shorter championship. 4 rounds rather than 5 or even 6, like the season finale usually is. But still pretty big stakes and a pretty stacked field, so I guess we shall get into this and see how it goes, because I actually wasn't around for any of this. I was busy for the whole week elsewhere. And the green light signaled the beginning of the festival, and well, the starting grid is already kind of telling us a little bit of the story here. The front row was occupied by Stephanie Kaiser and Francesca Ferranzi, but looks like Ellie is looking to immediately make the ground shake here and take that spot away from her fellow Porsche enjoyer. The POV driver of the race is actually one of the 2 unaffiliated drivers in the championship. Hometown boy Nico Mizotto. I guess not hometown, he doesn't live near here, but he lives in Italy. And that's more than most of this field can say, with exceptions, naturally. Fanny Golden is taking a bit of a new approach to that corner. I would say I haven't seen that one before, but I absolutely have. And she got some aero damage for her trouble. But yeah, the big excuse me. The big to-do here in La Festa Italiano is this is the first championship with a working constructor's title, so to speak, or basically a separate championship for individual teams of 3 drivers. Previous rounds and cups even were arranged this way, but there was never a separate contest involved for individual teams. That was just kind of a fact of things, but was only really there as a side. What in the world? Free ride around the outside of the S's for Mizotto, claiming McKinley and Nishikino's positions in the meantime. Very, very solid lap 1 for the Alfa Romeo driver. Already pretty close to the top 5, and we're not even at the end of it. And he could be getting 5th right here, but he can't quite outbrake the 911. However, he can get a better exit than it and just out-drag the thing because it is a Porsche and they are not renowned for their horsepower. Yes, we have 6 teams competing with 3 drivers apiece. Scuderia Ferranzi currently leading the way with Francesca Ferranzi. Black Stallion Motorsports with Axel Valentine right on the 308's tail. And a little ways behind that, Stephanie Kaiser is leading the charge for Porsche Auto Group in her 904 Carrera. Ellie obviously represents one of 3 Mercury Racing representatives. Rico Security leading the debuting team Aqua. Yeah, Aqua is just a team now for this championship at least, I guess. I don't really know. They didn't enter under DPT. DPT's logo isn't on any of Rico, Kanan, or Daya's cars. Also, yes, I think I already mentioned it in the exhibition dirt race, but Ida Cazador was actually Daia Kurosawa this entire time. And then the sixth team that's doing not all that well at the moment is NFR, Nuclear Fusion Racing, with Noir, Fenny, and Jennifer at the helm, the leader of which is running in a solid 15th place. That is, yikes. Looking back towards the front of the field, Axel has apparently made a pass for the lead. He still hasn't extended those gear ratios, but they don't seem to make much of a difference. He doesn't buzz the limiter, and he just has the inside here at the banked right-hander. And Francesca just couldn't hold that line. Mizoto used the same exact corner to try around the outside of the 904 Carrera, and I reckon the modern suspension and additional aerodynamics that the 8C has at its disposal were what won the day there for Mizoto. Skipping ahead some ways, Mizoto is slowly progressing towards that Ferrari. His progress definitely slowed down quite a bit. The top 5 cars are, well, they were originally very much class of the field. Fernando Fidanzi has clung onto the back of this old man for a 6th position, so in that previously mentioned team's championship, Scuderia Fidanzi is looking very strong at the moment on home soil, and that is almost perhaps to be expected. This is currently in Italy 2.356, but for Scuderia Fidanzi in particular, it is a 2.256. And then Axel Valentine he's got a relatively safe lead. About probably 2.5 seconds in hand in the Mustang, and Nico swings around the outside of the S's. He will put himself in second and chase after aforementioned Mustang. Daia is very much struggling with that car, spinning on her own accord. The other interesting thing though is that Mari, who, you know, co-owner of DPT and I guess of Aqua now as well, also just got rear-ended by Hans Frankfurt. That is unfortunate. That is going to be a decent chunk of damage to that Volkswagen bus, because yes, she's racing in a Volkswagen bus with a Porsche, ironically with an engine swap from the car that ran into the back of her, 964 Porsche. The longest first gear you ever saw, and about 300 something horsepower in that thing. So it's not a joke car. I mean, it is, but it isn't. And she's running it in 12. She was running it in 12. Now she has to pay for that damage. Although the Aqua logo is on her van, she's not racing for Aqua. Like, she's not counted any point in the team points. She's only racing for her own points. Meanwhile, as I was speaking on Mari, a battle for the lead took place. Mizoto caught up to the back of the Mustang, and they had a bit of a drag race down the front straightaway. Ironically, the muscle car lost the drag race, but won on the way into the corner and outbroke the Alfa Romeo handily, allowing Axel to retain the lead a little bit longer. But with how aggressive Mizoto has been in this race and just how much raw pace he's had, I don't think that's going to last a whole lot longer, especially not when Axel is making corner exits like that. The pressure, he's very clearly feeling some of it at the moment as we head ever closer to the final lap of the race. Just under 2 laps to go from Lago Maggiore circuit. The top handful of cars pretty much not changing other than the battle for the lead, which is about to continue. If Mizoto has his way, not quite though. But an ever-present threat, Axel offline through the S's. Mizoto takes full advantage. I just spit everywhere. Back around the outside. They bang doors a little bit. Not really anything too criminal though. You can kind of get away with that. Obviously, we're in passenger cars. These aren't like Indy cars or something. Down towards the banked corner, Mizoto later on the brakes, but Axel with able to just kind of pinch the 8C down and also pinch himself into the sand trap a tiny bit. The cost that has to be paid. They're still too wide. They collide again, and finally the 8C has claimed the lead. But Axel certainly didn't go quiet. But minus that, the rest of the top, like 10, pretty stagnant. Thrasher did pass Rico for 7 while that was going on. So, Black Stallion picking up even more stonks on the closing bits of this event. But I don't know how much further he'll be able to progress. He does have another lap, and he has gotten very quickly up to the back of this duo of Fadanzi drivers. And Stephanie got damaged. Oh boy. Looks like Stephanie got a bit offline on the way up the S's. Fernando obviously not ready for that brake test because I don't know who would be. Runs into the back of the Porsche and does not deal any damage to his own Maserati. You know, Scuderia Fadanzi will say up and down like it is not the Fadanzi way to win the race by making contact with the opponent cars. I don't really know that there was anything else Fernando could have done there. Stephanie just took the S's in such a weird, unpredictable way that I feel like there was not really much that he could have done to not hit her there. Axel had like a little, like a bit of a, he tried to come back at him, excuse me. Wrong Nico. I was thinking of the other Nico who's not in the championship. He tried to form a response. That's what I was trying to say. He was trying to respawn. However, Mizuto's just putting his car where it has to be, I guess. There's really not much else to say. He's just driving fundamentally sound at the moment. Like, there's no frills, there's nothing crazy about the way he drives anymore. Maybe about a year and a half ago I would have said otherwise, but now he's just kind of turned into just a decently quick driver. And he's about to probably prove that he is quick enough to win on sort of the bigger level of Challenge Series races. This isn't exactly like the main stage or anything. Far from it. But this is by no means a small event either. This is a championship race. He's scoring points. The payout is actually really big because it's sponsored by the O'Hara Group. This whole thing is. That's why it's racing in Italy, because that's where that company is. It's Mari's father's basically international business thing. I don't even know exactly what it is, but it is, I think it's a hotel chain. I think. But it's a very rich hotel chain. And Mizuto just got a little taste of those riches. Off the final turn, the Alfa Romeo 8C Competizione will cross the finish line to win the first round of La Festa Italiano. Axel Valentine sticks right to the back of him for P2. And it is a 3-4-6 for the Scuderia Fadanzi as they cross the line. There is 6. And Rico's 7th on debut in that R32. That's bars. But the rest of her team didn't really have the debut that they were looking for. 16-20 for the rest of the points scoring Aqua members. Daya is going to have to go back to the drawing board ASAP. This is not a good look. She's here, and 19th is up here, like 3 corners ahead. That is just simply ugly. But it is Mizuto sitting pretty. Normally, when I think of festivals held at temples, I think of, like, Japan or some other Asian country. But nope. This Italian festival brings us instead to the Temple of Speed, the Monza Autodrome. A lot of fanfare for a track that I honestly don't like all that much. Tracks like this are what made me not feel too bad that I was busy for pretty much this whole week and didn't really get to take part. I also figured Nozomi Maki and Ellie had it covered well enough. I guess that remains to be seen, huh? Well, good start. We are green from Monza, just spit everywhere again. And although we are literally right at Scuderia Fedonzi's home base of operations, the Monza Autodrome, we have absolute chaos, is what we have. Ellie just kinda inserted the vehicle and nearly spun our POV driver, Liza Kaiser, for trouble. And we heard the horn go off. Obviously, Liza was not really happy about being sideways. Most people tend not to be unless you're a drifter. And I don't think Liza is that. I'm gonna be dead honest. Our second and first place finishes of the last round did not get any help from the starting grid gods whatsoever. But yeah, as I'd said, in spite of the fact that this is literally the home circuit for the Scuderia Fedonzi, the POV driver is actually a rival of theirs, a very, very aggressive rival in Liza Kaiser. Scuderia Fedonzi and Porsche Auto Group's drivers, at least, well, mainly the two leaders of each team, Stephanie and Liza, really don't get along with Francesca and Francisco, respectively. This is pretty well documented throughout the history of the Challenge Series, and even a little bit before it, I would say. Oh, 3 wide through Ascari. Oh, we're still fine, we're holding hands. Ugh! Big tank slapper from the 930, but I think for what it was worth, that was probably the best case scenario for that. 3 wide through Ascari and nobody ended up facing the wrong direction. I think maybe we'll be satisfied with that outcome. Maybe Rico won't be too satisfied. She lost, I think, 2 whole positions out of it, but it could be worse. It could be off in the gravel. You wouldn't think it, but the way that Liza has this 930 set up, it is actually a dangerous weapon on these straights. I don't see anybody in the right or left mind. Oh god, Kanan. A new route for the Ford Focus driver. Yeah, clearly they're still a bit green. Nearly ran Francesca over and had to... Oh, they did get reset. It's just the game was so quick about it, but she couldn't use any places. Mizoto also did the same thing, so... There's no excuse for him. This is still his own track. He's Italian. Kanan has a bit of an excuse. He's pretty new to this whole racing thing. So, he's only here out of request from Mari herself. Same for the rest of the two... Well, actually not even the rest of them. For Kanemaru, who showed up at the dirt race, and for Rico, as well as Kanan, at Mari's request. Aya was apparently here the whole time, and the rest of Aqua has been here for varying lengths of time already. Liza is already in the top 5. Her daughter, Stephanie, is currently in the lead. Subject to change, as the two Fedonzis of Francesca and Francisco are literally working in tandem. They're all but bump drafting to try and get up to the leader in the 904. But here comes Liza. She's going to get, I think, 2 places on 1 straightaway. Yeah, she got Fenny on the exit of the 2 Lesno corners and used the momentum to just embarrass 308 on straightaway. The 4C, being lighter and newer, had better cornering and was able to brake later, but Francesca was largely helpless in that regard. And Liza should have had the same shortcomings, but just kinda, I guess, ignored them, and also then drives past Francisco with little resistance. That was probably a little bit satisfying if you're Liza, considering that's the one she doesn't like. I thought Francesca was about to try and have a pass on her old man there, but she seems to think wiser of that, especially when Fenny is sitting right there in their tire tracks. actually getting blocked by the two of them as Stephanie is overtaken by her mother. Very aggressive braking from the 930, but she can get away with it, I guess. And speaking of aggressive braking, Francesca tried to take a shot at Stephanie there at the chicane. Thrasher and Fernando, battling, and Fernando running himself out of race circuits and finding a bit of dirt on his tires. It is now a 7-car battle for the lead, kind of. Liza is a little ways ahead of it, but the others are definitely fighting for it. Also, I can't count. That's very clearly 5 cars there. Brain. Stephanie is still running for her life, still trying to keep it a Porsche 1-2 here in Verdonzi territory. Fenny has moved her way into 3rd position. And, okay, no, that is 6 cars. Francisco I couldn't really see him, so I don't know. Now Thrasher's a part of it. So now it's a 7-car battle. Daya is leading the 2nd train. I also turned damage, like breaking the 4th wall. I had to turn damage off with this race. We wanted to actually have a race at the end of the day, you know? So Liza is making good her escape plan. Stephanie is, I guess, playing spoiler, or playing spanner in the works. She's doing whatever she can to try and keep the rest of the pack behind, and it's working pretty well. It helps they're fighting each other, but Fenny is not having it. She goes down the inside of the Carrera, and that should be 2nd place for the DeLorean. Unless the 904 has a response, and it looks like she just might. That thing is even crazier in a straight than the 930. Easily embarrassing the DeLorean, not even getting that far off it. Oh my word! Get it stopped, Stephanie! She does. That was close. That is why I turned damage off. Battles all the way up and down the field at this point. Even the back group of cars. Elbows out, and another car finding some sand over there. We basically have 3 groups. The top 8, with Kana making a bit of contact with Francisco, but nothing really major. 9th through, looks to be 14th, with Axel getting some dirt in his tires after missing the exit of the 2nd chicane, trying to get ahead of Mizoto. And then the bottom 6, minus Veronica Katsuragi, are all in a train as well. Pretty much. Not quite as close as the other trains, but still relatively clumped up. But obviously, the place to look is definitely the top 8, as even Liza is still kind of in the battle. She's not free. Fenny is still in pursuit, having finally cleared Stephanie for real after the shenanigans that we witnessed down at turn 1 at the start of the lap. Francesca hangs on to 4th. Francisco hangs on to 6th. Fernando is trying to get a part of this, but he just isn't really up there. He's still stuck contending with Daya and Damari and 2 other degrees, Axel and Mizoto, or 1-2 finishers from the last race, to try and stay at least in the top half. Actually looks to have a bit of a run on Francisco down the front straightaway. That should be a good pass for the Mustang. He even moves over. He was completely confident he would be able to stop that in time. He actually gets a double overtake. Oh, 3 wide on the exit. Francesca gets the short end of that stick. Somebody had to, though. There was no way that a Firebird, a Mustang, and a Ferrari were going to fit 3 wide anywhere. Thrasher and McKinley 2 wide up towards the 2nd chicane. The Firebird will have the advantage, but that Mustang has a lot of aero, and that just is the newer, more modern car. And Jennifer, with 1 missed chicane later, is going to find herself losing that confrontation. The Pedonzis really just kind of had it and lost it here. They were 2-3 at one point in the race. They are now 6-7 and struggling to even stay there. Thrasher is looking at a last-second opportunity to try and steal a podium from Stephanie. He's got exactly one more corner after this to do that. And although he's run the fastest lap of the race, he gets really bad Ascari there. Bit of oversteer, I reckon. And now one more corner to go for one Liza Kaiser. And she will have upset the home team and probably sent quite a few local Italians home in a bit of a daze. Liza Kaiser, your winner at Monza. Fenny claims second, and it is a Porsche 1-3 as the winner's daughter barely clutches that podium. 6-7 for Scuderia Fidanzi when they were, as I said, 2-3 at the start of things. And probably a pretty bitter defeat for them, considering that their toughest rivals got 1-3 in this event. And then Fenny's just there. I say Fenny's there. NFR certainly did better here, 2-5. Noir just kind of got stuck in that back field and just could not escape. But 2-5 is certainly better than whatever. I don't know what they were doing in the first round, but it's definitely for the best that they stopped. And thus, with the Maggiore and Monza rounds complete, the La Festa Italiano, that's redundant. The Festa. I'm Ferrari now. Look at me. La Festa Italiano comes down to a Sardinia Road doubleheader. And these two in particular were very much sponsored by and promoted by the O'Hara Group, since, you know, their money actually funded the construction of one of these two layouts. So, you know, they kind of have quite a... Actually, it's the layout we're on, I do believe, that has that. Yeah, this is not a corner in the other layout. We are away from the first of two Sardinia Road events, and this is where I would say that this is the race for Scuderia Fidanzi to really make a comeback and re-establish their dominance after two races where they could not secure the bag. But in all reality, in the long term of things, they don't really have to do that. As, yes, Francesca Fidanzi is the POV driver of the race, the starting grid, tries to make things interesting from time to time, I guess, as she goes through ahead of her own father. But she's already made up 10 places. Holy crap, she is speedrunning this. Yeah, I say long term because, in all reality, that Teams Championship, Scuderia Fidanzi is currently leading that by a pretty solid margin. They've got 90 points. Reference, the most you can get out of a single race if your team finishes 1, 2, 3 is 57 points. So, 90 out of a possible 114 after two rounds of racing. The second in points is Black Stallion Motorsports at a whopping 65. That's barely more than a team could score in a single race if they're lucky, and that's after two. And Axel's not going to be scoring many. He seems to have been hit somewhere along the way. Corso's turn 1 chaos. Fernando just, you know, a half a second late on the brakes and gives the Mustang a tap. Somehow, again, oh no, never mind, excuse me, this time Fernando does not get away scot-free. He does indeed damage his car this time. Francesca's already looking at the podium spots. She is a woman possessed at the moment, and not quite late enough on the brakes. The focus of Kanan is going to stay ahead through this hairpin, but I figure it's just a matter of time. Sneaks her wedge-shaped front end down the inside. Outbraking, incomplete. Never mind, it is complete. She was on the better line in the long run. Kanan will try to respond. No dice. Who just drifted through there? My word. Something happened back here. Somebody just like absolutely ate it. Or just had a big tank slapper. I believe it was Fenny. I think her suspension may have bottomed out there on the banking. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Francesca can see the top two. Well, actually she can see second. She can't see the leader. Jennifer has, I'd say that's probably a 3-second lead, maybe even 4 over Rico, who's, remind you, this is only her 3rd road race. She managed to get decent results in the 1st race. 2nd race, not really. Francesca nearly buys the farm back there. Well, my lungs proceed to protest the recording of this commentary. The 032 very clearly not much in a straight line, as the 308 makes short work of it, and there alone basically reveals exactly what went wrong at Monza for Saccharucci. That car just doesn't have what it takes on a straightaway. For the four Italian circuits we're using in the championship, all of them have at least one decent straightaway. But this R32 is just incapable of doing anything with other than suffering. Meanwhile, the lead car, McKinley, and the Firebird, well, that Firebird's going to have the opposite problem, I would say. It's going to have plenty of power, plenty of straight line speed. It's just heavy, and a little unwieldy. 308 probably going to have the same problem. Probably very hard to control, but plenty of grip and pretty lightweight. And obviously, Francesca's, basically being cheered on by the hometown crowd here. Again, not necessarily hometown, but, Italians. Oh my god, Jennifer is really struggling with the weight of that Firebird as I seemingly speak the problems into existence there in the final 2 corners. And that should be the pass for Fidanzi, specifically Francesca. I have to specify that because there's 3 of them here. That's not the pass though. Jennifer has some fight in her. Battle for 5th back here. Noir, I believe, took the spot away from Mizzotto in recent history. Everybody else is pretty much single file. Everybody seems to mostly have settled out to where they're going to be in the when the checkered flag flies, except for apparently Liza making some contact with the organizer of the event. Not really what you want to do. Really bad day for Porsche after an incredible day at Monza yesterday. Just, I don't know what the brake's doing. Not really what you want to do there. She wasn't going to stop if that stopper bus wasn't in the way. So, yeah, that's not somebody you want to run into the back of. Somebody who's organized. As we head back to modern day, Francesca's still trying to sneak her way ahead of the Firebird for the race lead. I think we're going to have another battle for it, just like we had at Lago Maggiore. We didn't really get a battle at Monza. It was pretty decisive with Liza out-dragging her daughter on the front straightaway. But it's not going to be quite so simple here, I have a feeling. And also worth noting at this point in time is that if my tablet wants to respond to what I'm telling it to do, it is actually a tie for the points lead, as I should be looking at the screen rather than my tablet. Francesca, I missed that. I really just missed all of that, huh? I really missed the whole darn thing. Huge run down the hill for the 308, almost missed us, the wrong category. It's a huge run there, but Jennifer stuck her nose there at the braking point and continues to somehow upset this 308 under braking, in spite of the fact that she's in a much heavier car. Slight door-to-door contact, not really going to matter any small amount to a Firebird like that, that's basically just cosmetic. But with that maneuver, that put Francesca into the lead. Finally, she'd been working on that one for a minute, and then immediately proceeds to completely botch the penultimate corner. But it didn't really seem to matter too much. Jennifer wasn't able to capitalize with a good corner of her own. And even though the Firebird's probably better in a straight line than the 308 is, it's not able to do anything with it. But, yeah, going into this race, only 2 races in, Francesca was the points leader going in, and considering she's about a minute's worth of driving away from winning this race, I think that's only going to be extended. Thrasher is nowhere to be seen in the top 8, running down in a measly 12th position, and trying to take it away from Maki for that matter, actually not able to do so, relegated to 13th for the time being, only just ahead of his teammate Veronica, who, mind you, at this point in the championship has a grand total of 3 points. 19th in round 1 and dead last at round 2. They were tied on 33 points. I see Fenny's been getting aggressive again. She ran into the back of Mizoda by the looks of it once, and she damn near did it again. It's the final lap though, so you might as well damage the car if you gotta. Fenny knows that. She's gonna sneak around the outside of Mizoda and claim that spot. And Francesca is gonna sneak across the finish line to claim the race victory. McKinley a very close second, and 3-4 for Aqua. Rico grabbing the podium in her R32, and Kanan sitting there in 4th. Noir rounds out your top 5. And, well, it's not great, but it's still an improvement for Daya with a 15th position finish. Beat one of the Fidanzis. Fernando has had a race to forget here. That's Sardaigne B. But, yeah, Francesca the big winner. She will probably, almost not even probably, she will absolutely be the points leader going into round 4. You know, the finale. At least, like a lot of point lead, like at least like 5 or 6. It's a pretty decent safety net, all things considered. Yeah, I mean, we'll just do the point stuff when we get there. No point in doing it from this screen. Francesca wins. Terrible day for Porsche AG, their top runner, finishing only in 9th place. Yeah, 9th. Had to make sure see if he won that drag race. No, he's not going to outdrag a Mustang boss. That just doesn't really happen. We are here ahead of the finale in La Festa Italiano. And yeah, it's not over, but it's gonna be tough to uproot what's currently going on. For the individual drivers championship, well, half of the field isn't even in contention anymore. Francesca with 53 points out of a possible 60. And her closest competitor is Jennifer McKinley with a grand total of 44. So all that Francesca needs to win this championship is, I believe, a top 8 finish. Maybe, I think actually top 9 would, yeah, no. A top 8 for the title, top 9 to tie with Jennifer, and that's assuming Jennifer wins the race, obviously. Mizoto, Thrasher, and Fenny are also in with a slight chance. Mizoto at 42 points, and Thrasher and Fenny are tied at 41, so 11 and 12 back from Francesca, respectively. But to win from there would rely on Francesca finishing outside of the top 10. And statistically speaking, that seems improbable since she hasn't gotten anywhere near finishing that low at any point in the title thus far. In the cup thus far. Meanwhile, as for the team's championship, it's mostly between two teams, three other. Well, I guess actually no, because the minimum points you can score is 6. So you can close 51 points in a single race. So mathematically, last placed Porsche AG can still win the championship, but that would require them finishing 1, 2, 3, and having Scuderia Firenze not have anybody finish inside the top 12. That's probably not going to happen. Because it also relies on everybody else doing because nuclear fusion is still decent on points. Scuderia Firenze is the points leader in the team's championship. They have 123. And that's after a bit of a down race for the rest of the team. Francesca may have won and brought home 20 points, but her two teammates, Fernando and Francisco, combined for 13 more. So that's about the only reason this title is even in reach for anybody else. NFR kind of had the opposite effect. They both had pretty evenly matched race 2s. NFR had a terrible round 1, but brought home 50 of 57 points in the previous round. I didn't even notice that. Somehow, someway, Aqua have snuck their way to third in points at 85. No, I can't read. That's an 8. 88 points. Black Stallion Motorsports is 85. Mercury Racing 82, and Porsche AG at 78. But in all reality, the only two teams with any shot, like any realistic chance of taking this title, are going to be either Scuderia Firenze or Nuclear Fusion Racing. Anybody else is a long shot to end them all, to have any chance of actually scoring enough points to overtake Firenze in the team's championship. So really, I think the center point of this race is going to be who does better between McKinley and Francesca. There are the lights. The final race of La Festa Italiano is officially underway. The POV driver with an absolute rocket ship of a start, the four-wheel drive Nissan R32 of Rico Saccherucci, heading towards the familiar turn 1, as we've already been here. Starting grid not benefiting McKinley all that much. She starts in 11th, now down to 12th after being passed by the R32. Meanwhile, our points leader Francesca with a solid 6th place to start. I believe she actually started 5th, but Finney got ahead of her. My nose is still a little from the cold I exhibited signs of in episode 125. However, she is trying to work on it. Jennifer down the inside of Frankfurt. That'll put her in potentially 9th place. Indeed it will. So she's doing what she has to. She's trying to at least catch back up, but ultimately what she does is only half the battle. She would need to rely on Francesca falling down a lot from here. And hoping / relying on other people to not succeed is just kind of a fool's errand, especially in motorsports. Small issue. I sneeze. End of lap 1 here. Thrasher and Mizzotto are also in decent places. They could. If Francesca needs to avoid damage, that's the key thing. Even if she lets Jennifer pass here, she's not in any real danger. She has a 9-point buffer between her and the nearest opponent, and Thrasher and Nico, who are ahead of her, are 11 and 12 points behind, respectively, I believe. So Francesca does not really need to worry. The only reason she would have to actually go for overtakes at all is to score points for her team and help them. As right now, her teammates are running 10 and 16. Meanwhile, her opponents at NFR, well, that'll help if Noir is literally running in last after getting involved with one of either Mari or Veronica. And Noir's drivers are running Well, decidedly more concerning 5th place and 8th. Interruption there. By interruption, I mean I recorded this 3 days ago, and I left the mic on mute after blowing my nose, so I have to do it again. I don't remember what was going on in this previous recording. Apparently Rico has rear bumper damage. I never even noticed I had it when I was driving the car myself, as the player. I hate to break the fourth wall again. Remember that. I was editing, and then I was like, why is this so short? Oh, probably because, like, 4 whole laps of racing were just not recorded? I don't know. Or, they were recorded, but they were in dead silence. And Sakuruchi is slowly making her way up to the lead, too. I guess that would be how Rico has that damage, probably Risotto hitting her. But Rico doesn't care, mainly because I never even noticed. I hate to shatter the veil, but that is just simply what it amounts to. She's not kidding because it's the player, and the player didn't even notice the car was damaged. The battle of Fords at the front. Kanon's trying to hold off Thrasher. The new blood versus the old guard, so to speak. But the new blood has backup on the way in the form of a Nissan. Behind this, there isn't a whole lot going on. Everybody's relatively spread out and kind of just running in an orderly fashion. Obviously, you have the cars in the back that got damaged somewhere along the way, so they're actually just straight up irrelevant. I sure need to remember to have the point standings in mind as well. That was what made it really awkward. Was you sit there in silence for like 5-6 minutes whilst I'm trying to, read off the championship results and all that, and you just don't hear anything. Let's not repeat that. As we head on to the front straightaway, end of lap 3, and Rico's going to just easily out-drag that Mustang. She might out-drag her teammate, too. Neither one of them had a great run out of that last corner, and Rico certainly did. Despite R32's shortcomings on the straight line, she looks to sweep around the outside of the Ford Focus, her own teammate, and new leader, Rico Sakuruchi. Thrasher still right on the tail. Actually, he's going to try and look for a send and instead just get straight into the bumper of that other Ford. No damage dealt by the looks of things, though. Some very awkward conversation post-race if there was. But, Francesca's doing just what everything she has to at the moment. She doesn't really need to worry about getting ahead of anybody because, well, her closest title rivals are, 2 of them are behind her. 2 of them. One of them is. The closest one, Jennifer, and the other 2 are just, interesting. I was going to say the other 2 are only 1 and 2 places ahead of her respectively, but Thrasher decided he was going to change that and get 2 school idols overtaken for the price of a single hairpin. The Group 4 trim on that Mustang definitely helping the braking distance, but not helping the straight line speed. So even Rico's R32 can challenge it on this run up to the kink, and Thrasher loses control massively. The horn just actually scared the crap out of me. But yeah, the Group 4 trim can't help you if you run out of grip, though. He slides up the hill going through that blind corner, and basically smacked Rico into the barrier. But obviously there's not necessarily a space in motorsports for mercy, so he is still going to take the money and run. I don't know if he's going to get all that far, though. Rico really didn't lose too much time. She only just lost 2 places, and she will easily make up one of the 2 on her teammate, who will probably just kind of let her go, I'm sure. loud noise in the background. I have to run the dehumidifier to make sure nobody hears me talking, because it is 3:30 in the morning. And it's never too late to have a battle to the finish line. Ignore the fact that the race took place at like 6:30 in person, I think. Something like that anyway. Up the hill for the final time, another straightaway the R32 would normally suffer on, but Rico's closest opponent is a Group 4 trim car, so it's not going to do much better. Still can't get it done though. Outbraking that Mustang is going to be incredibly difficult for any car. Because it's, again, a Group 4 trim. How many times have I said Group 4 trim in this championship? Or in this race even? Too wide here, but on the other side of the road compared to Thrasher, and this time the inside lane will get the R32 back to the lead at the last possible minute, essentially. Thrasher has no response into the final hairpin, which will all but seal his fate as the second place finisher. One more kink to go, and it is a corner that Rico has done better than anybody else on the track. And she does it well again. Rico Sakaguchi, just her fourth time of asking in the Challenge Series, grabs victory in the finale of La Festa Italiano. Thrasher right there in second, and Rico's teammate Kanan claims a double podium for Team Aqua. But with this fifth place finish, Francesca Fidanzi will easily have enough points, to take the championship altogether. Don't need to win every race, just have to do well in most of them. And indeed it goes, Francesca Fidanzi is your champion with 69 points. If I had access to a laugh track, I'd probably put that there. Thrasher's valiant effort gives him enough points to take second away from Jennifer and Fenny with 60 points. Jennifer with 59, Fenny with 58, and Rico with 57. And then Kanan with 53, down 6 in points. The top 6 in the race ended up being the top 6 in points by the end of everything. Just not in the same order. Francisco Fidanzi, despite an average race here, as he and his is Fernando his son? This family tree is so convoluted. All I know is Francesca is his daughter. I think that's one of his. It has to be. And I don't know. They finished 11-12, but they didn't need a ton of points. They had a good lead going in. Words. But yeah, Francisco, not Francesco. That's not that. 7th in points at 48, tied with Axel Valentine. Liza Kaiser at 46, Fernando Fidanzi down at 41, tied with Maki. Nico Mizzoto at 39. Over half of his points came in the first round when he won from Lago Maggiore. Nozomi at 34, Stephanie at 33. More than half her points came from Monza. Noir tied with Daya at 32. Both of them had half of their points come from... Hang on, that's not math. Daya did not score 16 points. Francesca did. Where did I must have just typoed. Believe me, Daya has 29 points. She scored 13 here, which puts her behind Ellie, who scored 31 actual points. Mari down at 21. Hans Frankfurt at 18. And Veronica Katsuragi, definitely the biggest letdown of the championship. I would even say disappointment, at a mere 13 points. And it would be no stretch to say that she is basically the reason that Black Stallion couldn't take the title home, as Scuderia Fidanzi also claims that with their results here. That's the thing. Although they only had one win, Francesca winning the third race, they all remained relatively consistent, especially Francesca, whose worst finish was 6th at Monza. Her points alone, she alone almost scored more than the entirety of Porsche Auto Group did. Scuderia Ferranzi wins the La Festa Italiana. I did that again. I'm Ferrari. The Ferrari. Scuderia Ferranzi wins La Festa Italiano at 158 points out of a possible 228. Nuclear Fusion ends up second with their 4-6 finish here. And then Noir down somewhere. Yeah, she could have done more. If she could have gotten into the top 10, she could have dragged NFR up to the points, to the championship, but she got damage on lap 1. There's nothing really she could do about that. Can we get the camera? There we go. So instead, they get second at 149 points. Aqua, in effectively the team's debut, even if it's not really an official team, it's just kind of an arrangement, at 142 points, taking third. A big part of that coming from, this final race, scoring 54 points, which is actually not true, because again, I did math wrong. It should be 51 points, but either way, them having 139 points doesn't change that they got third. Black Stallion Motorsports with 121 points, and yeah, Thrasher contributed to basically half of those with his 60. Mercury Racing with a very uncharacteristically mid run at this championship, only 106 points to their name. Monza was absolutely a race to forget, but this one didn't go spectacularly well either. And despite the giddy heights of Monza with 1-2, I think it was, Porsche AG had nothing to offer from there on, as they come away with 97 total points. 40 of which came from the Monza round, but then they then proceeded to score 34 between the last two races. Some drivers, I say some drivers, Francesca scored 36 between the last two races, and that's only one racer. But that will wrap things up for La Festa Italiano. Scuderia Ferranzi get things done on their home turf, as if it was meant to be. And that payout will probably go a pretty decent way in keeping Scuderia Ferranzi out of bankruptcy, so to speak. I guess that's what happens when you win a championship sponsored by one of the biggest corporations and or businesses in all of Italy.